How's that?
That's
Better?
much better.
Okay. Let me switch this here. All right. Okay. Whew. Finally. What a day. What a day.
Yeah, about it. You got
Yeah.
here. You
So
made it though.
I did. I did. And so did you. And I appreciate that.
My
Thank you so
pleasure.
much for jumping on here and spending some time. I'm excited to meet you in person. I've been watching some of your videos and I've seen what you've been up to for the last many years. And you're doing some pretty awesome stuff. So I'm
Thank
like,
you.
that guy's mesmerizing. He needs to be on the show.
Well, thank you so much for that. I actually caught your presentation at HypnoThoughts a couple years back.
Oh, no
Yeah,
kidding.
I was.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was fun.
Oh, well, good. Well, here we are. Oh my
Hmm.
God, I gotta back this slide off here. Hang on a second.
No worries.
Yeah, I haven't been at the hypnosis conferences for quite some time, so I miss them. But you can only do so much.
Yeah, well,
So,
it's a pretty
are you still
intimate.
presenting at
Oh
them
yeah, we're the
again?
God willing and the creek don't rise, and
Uh-oh. Hang
we're
on a
we're
second.
usually the number one or number two presenter every year. Our whole program is extremely popular. But
Hey,
the
David, I
hypnosis
lost
niche
you.
is such an. Oh, you lost me. Take your time. It's all right. I'm used to this.
Up there you are. Okay. Sorry, I lost you for a second.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. We're gonna work these bugs out before we record.
No worries.
All right. Now, what was your answer about are you still teaching?
Yeah, we go every year,
Okay.
and every year we've gotten a bigger. We've created a bigger and bigger draw. We've had more and more enthusiastic crowds. And we've actually started to broaden the scope of what we're teaching. We're actually doing body language training and
Hmm.
personality profiling through facial characteristics from Chinese medicine now, which
Yeah.
has shown the system's shown to be remarkably accurate in being able to kind of diagnose personality and temperament,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's shown to be really useful for therapy work as well.
Hmm.
In addition to jury selection and sales and matchmaking actually is one of the most popular applications for it. So that's every year that gets bigger and bigger. Last couple, like I said, God willing, and the creek don't rise. Every
Hmm.
year we get voted one of the top number two, number three presenters, and so that's exciting. But the hypnosis niche is a very intimate niche. That's what I was trying to say earlier before all our technical snafus hit, and so I make a kind of a joke is that up until very recently I only hung out with hypnotists once a year. And that was at the hypnosis convention because most of the time I'm actually reaching out to people who have problems that they want to solve without necessarily be going to a hypnotist or being a hypnotist themselves. And
Yeah.
that to me is, I think, where we need to be focused. Yes, we pull a lot of hypnotists in now, but that was never our focus. It was always about
Hmm.
people who had problems that they wanted to solve, whether they were social problems or financial problems or relationship problems or what have you. It was about finding the solutions for people to get the life they wanted the way they wanted. And I got the call
Yeah.
from Richard and Scott to come and hang out, and I was like, oh, I didn't expect to go and make anything. I just went to have fun and give as much information as I could, and the thing just kind of snowballed. But that's still where our focus is actually on what I call real people or normal people, not hypnotists.
Yes.
Love them
Yes.
all, but there's a much bigger world out there.
Yeah. Well, when I was working with hypnotists, I spent a lot of time actually working on the hypnotists.
Mm-hmm.
You know, right? Working on their
Yeah,
confidence, their business skills.
yeah.
You know, a lot of times they say the reason that hypnosis may not seem mainstream is because of hypnotists.
It's
And
true.
so, uh,
I only slightly make a joke when I say, amongst all the disciplines with the highest unemployment rate, I think the only unemployment rate that might be higher than hypnotists is actors.
yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
a lot of it is because I think, and again, I'm gonna draw heat from this statement, but I think a lot of it is they just don't have enough skin in the game.
Yeah.
They're
That
just
is true.
and I think we go when we as all hypnotists aside, and I know there's outliers and exceptions to every rule, but most of us went to college or the equivalent thereof, and we invested 30, 40, 50, $60,000 in a degree. And whether
Oh
we
yeah.
stayed in that profession or not, when we got out, we found a job in that niche because that's what we invested in. And I
Yeah.
think largely that the people who invest in themselves in terms of not just the money, because I know a lot of people who are like what I call chronically overtrained. Uh, and that these are
Yes.
people who, and there's,
Tons of certificates, no clients.
yeah, and what they and the mindset is, achievers and the chronically overtrained have a lot of similar characteristics in common. But where the rubber kind of hits the road is that both groups of people know that there's always more to learn,
Hmm.
right? They know there's always something new to learn. There's something more to learn. But the achievers, which is a smaller niche,
Hmm.
they know that however much there is to learn, what they have is enough to start, and so they do.
Yes.
Right? The
Yeah.
chronically overtrained, well, they can't start until they're finished, but they're never finished, so they're never done, and they never
Yeah.
start.
Yeah.
you
It's
know,
so true.
you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's just a confidence thing.
hmm
So I like that too. I've complained a lot over the years that, in fact, the last conference I think I did was a keynote for Robert Otto's
hmm yeah,
program there in
yeah,
Daytona Beach, and I was talking about it then how if we're going to get real serious as a profession, we got to quit certifying people for $1,000,
well,
or for $500,
I think that's definitely part of it. I think we need to make them
Mhm.
work harder for those degrees. And I
Yeah,
think also the other side of that coin is when I say they haven't got their skin in the game, is they haven't done enough sessions, which is by
right.
and large one of the biggest hindrances is that people don't think they can actually do this work
Hmm.
because a lot and I blame, I'm going to draw flack from this again, but I blame trainers. I
Yeah,
blame the trainers for that because
right.
we have a very very condensed training program, and it's a 5-day training. But they come out of
Hmm.
there from with knowing nothing to being
Hmm.
unstoppable at the end of 5 days. But it's literally
Yeah,
because I hope your demographic doesn't mind that I use profanity. It's because we throw them in the shit from day one.
yeah, yeah.
We get them.
Experiential. Hmm.
Yeah, we do 3 times more hands-on than any other training program in the industry,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we don't give them scripts. They have to figure this shit out right from the beginning. So they get
yeah.
used to that. The first thing we do at the very beginning of a training is we rehearse ab reactions.
Hmm.
In other words,
Interesting.
you
Yeah,
pretend to put
right off
someone
the
in trance,
bat.
and at some random moment they're going to start ab reacting, and you got to
Yeah,
fix it. So you're going to do
yeah.
that 3 or 4 times before you ever actually get to therapy work. So it's not going to, you're not going to, your butt's not going to pucker up, and your brains are not going to drop out because the unexpected happened, or the bias of your training taught people to put the genie back in the bottle and run screaming for the exits. You know,
Yeah, you gotta work it out, take it and use it.
you
Yeah.
gotta you
So
gotta you gotta deal with what's actually going to happen out in the real
yeah,
world, and that's the problem.
yeah.
Is in our fear, and again, part of it's training, part of it's our society, part of it's just the fact that there's no regulations. And I'm not necessarily in favor of a lot of regulations with hypnotists, but I think one of the biggest challenges is um, we're trying to insulate ourselves from liability. But we're teaching these people techniques that are designed for behavioral change and resolution of trauma.
Hmm.
And so to put these people through a training and not expect them to have to deal with an abreaction of any kind,
Hmm.
as a course of business instead of just the outlier. It randomly, no, it always happens. It's
Hmm.
not if
Hmm.
somebody is going to abreact on you, it's when. So
Yeah.
we as trainers need to start getting a little bit more real with the scenarios that we run our students through. And I don't mean throw them into like complex multi-level regressions like first day, but you got to put them in stuff where they're actually fixing stuff, and they get that that
Well,
that
if you
history.
if you
Go
if
ahead.
you start off with ab reactions, and I really like that a lot, especially the no scripts. That's how I was trained too.
Hmm
Um, and it causes you to work through your own stress and have a breakthrough. And then if you can work through an ab reaction, you're no longer worried about, can I read this script correctly?
Yeah.
Which
What
is
we've
where a lot of people start. I don't
yeah
know. I can't. Am I reading it too
yeah.
fast? Am I saying
hmm
it right?
And here's what we found out, Tim. We found out that when you did the ab reaction drill first,
Uh-huh.
the progress through the curriculum was 3 times faster.
Yeah. It makes
It
total
was
sense.
crazy. I just did it by accident one day, and it
Yeah.
completely flipped the script on the class. And
Yeah.
so we just made it part of. We're just going to start there. You know,
Yeah, that's, well, people are lucky to have you as a trainer because you just don't get that very often. So I was with Scott McFall for a long time. I don't know if you know Scott,
lots
but
of
he
respect
was
for Scott McFall.
very ferocious,
Hmm.
trainer, old school, chain the doors,
Yep.
we're making it happen right here.
Yep.
And I was with him for 10 years, and so, and when he was doing the heaviest amount of training, I was right there next to him. And
Yeah.
so it was quite an experience
Yeah, I've heard
because
nothing
we
but good.
would,
I have a stage hypnosis course actually. That was one of the
yeah,
very first courses that I ever got,
yeah,
and Richard Rumble, of all people, recommended him to me. And then I got a few students of his coming through my class, and I was like, these guys
yeah,
are good.
yeah,
These guys aren't
yeah.
afraid of shit. So,
Well, he teaches exactly what you're teaching,
hmm,
right? He wouldn't give people scripts. He's not giving you checklists.
hmm,
He's causing you to do the hardest stuff first, and
hmm,
then you just really jump in the fire training,
perfect.
and then realize that you're not getting burned, that you're okay.
Yeah.
And just ferocious change work on ourselves more than on clients, because
Hmm.
hypnotists are drawn to this, for a variety of reasons, and so. Yeah, so I really respect how you're doing that and how you're teaching it. I'm sure people are getting a world-class
We're having
training,
fun.
and
We have the best music in the hypnosis industry as well.
I bet you do. It's a party, right? You got to
It
have
is
fun.
party. We crank the music during hypnosis trainings. Our
Yeah,
guys, yeah,
yeah,
it's on record that we have trainings where we've had students out in the lobby doing like 12 or 14 students out in the lobby doing advanced change work in a lobby of a hotel undergoing renovations right next to a jackhammer that was actually in operation, and
yeah,
they all
yeah,
did perfectly well. So
yeah.
we do our best to explode a lot of the myths about how you can or where
Right.
you can and can't do hypnosis.
Yeah.
The model and our role model is anytime, anywhere, for any reason.
Yes. Nice.
And
I really
that's what we
like
work
that.
towards.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's so awesome. So, the people on my podcast are looking for it's a wide variety of people. Most of
Hmm.
them have been clients or business clients. So there's a lot of entrepreneurs, sales managers, CEOs, company presidents, and then just a whole bunch of people who are looking to figure out how to make their life as good as it can possibly be.
Perfect.
And so as we chat, I'll just ask you a few questions. I love our conversation. And what we're doing, we'll segue it just a little bit because you and I are trading hypnosis stories, which I love because I don't do that very often anymore. Because
Right
like
on.
you said, I don't hang out with a lot of
I
hypnotists,
don't.
and so, but but yeah, this is fun catching
Sure.
up and trading stories.
Whatever your people need, I'm happy if I can provide it. I'm happy to do that.
Oh, I'm sure you will over deliver.
I'll do my
So,
best.
all right. Well, are you ready?
I am ready.
Let me real quick. And I know that I can't remember. Was it Stephanie?
Stephanie. Hmm.
Stephanie. So Stephanie said you want to promote everything, but is there anything in particular that I can direct some traffic
Well,
for
let's
you?
see. You're primarily promoting to CEOs and high level managers, entrepreneurs, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think for them, some of the best trainings that I could talk about would be our CPI systems, which is
Okay.
conversational persuasion and influence, and it covers the gamut of linguistic technique from marketing. As I like to say, it covers you from the boardroom to the treatment room to the therapy room to the courtroom to the bedroom to the classroom and back again. And the persuasion and influence methodologies that we've been putting out have been getting a lot of attention lately
Don't
from the
go into
business.
it yet because I don't want you
Okay.
to have to read. Because what we'll do is we'll just talk about that then. We'll
Okay.
talk about the CPI approach. How's
Okay.
that?
Hmm.
And then we'll have a training we could direct people to. But that way we
Absolutely.
can talk about because I love everything you said already. I'm already on board. So
Cool.
so why don't we do that? And
All
then
right.
and then what's your website again?
www.nlppower.com. That's NLPPower.com.
That's awesome. All right, I'll have all that in the show notes as well.
We also have
So
a massive YouTube channel that you can direct them to, but that might be too many things to take them to at once.
I can put that in the show notes though. So
Okay.
what's your YouTube?
David Snyder NLP at youtube.com or youtube.com/David Snyder NLP.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I love your content. I love
Cool.
all the teaching videos,
Hmm.
because it's just tons and tons of content, which is, of course is what everybody's hungry for because there's a lot of crap out there.
Oh, there is.
And
There is.
it's all meat. You're just so much good stuff.
I got so fed up with that, information light, diets that I grew up with, the pitch fests and everything else. And I decided if we were going to do this, we're going to, people are going to come away. When people are coming to you, they're hungry, and they
Yeah.
want to come away feeling like they're fed.
Yeah.
And while you don't want to give them everything, you want to give them something useful that they can take out and they can put to work right away and have an experience and a success.
Yeah.
Because nothing sells faster than success.
Yeah.
And you give people that ability to just go out and fix something. The next time they have a problem, guess where they're coming? And if you give it to them for free, which it really isn't free, but I'll tell you, and I can explain that later. But what happens is, if this is the stuff they're giving away for free, how good is the stuff that I actually charge for? Right? And
Right.
we got that concept from Eben Pagan, who
Mm-hmm.
many who in the internet marketing space know him as Eben Pagan.
Mm-hmm.
But he actually pioneered a lot of that stuff with his alter ego, David D'Angelo, who
Ah.
is the author of a very infamous or somewhat famous book on dating called Double Your Dating.
Mm-hmm.
But Eben Pagan actually pioneered a lot of the internet marketing tactics that we use today.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of an interesting little fun factoid.
That is. That is. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. Hey everybody, it's Tim Surr. Welcome to How to Be Mesmerizing. And today we have an incredible guest. David Snyder is here with us. David, welcome to the program. Woo!
And the crowd goes wild.
Hey, I am super excited, ladies and gentlemen, because we got another hypnosis NLP guy in the house. And David is one of the best out there. He is a sensational trainer, and he teaches people how to get into your mind and how to get into your heart, how to make rapid breakthroughs. And so David and I have crossed paths here and there over the years, and I've been watching him on his YouTube channel and just soaking in all his knowledge. And I love how he teaches, and he's just a very smart guy. And so, of course, I had to have you on the show. So thanks so much for being here today. I appreciate it.
Tim, it's absolutely my pleasure. And if the pre-interview talk was anything like, if this is going to be anything like it's going to be a fun talk. We may be here for several hours, so
We
I
may
warn you, I
be.
can run off at the microphone.
Oh, I'll tell you, I love it. Yeah, we were having an awesome chat right before we hit the record button, and it was so good. And then I'm like, okay, I got to hit record because I want you to be able to hear these conversations. That's the point of the podcast. I
Hmm.
get to hang out with these spectacular people like you, and I just wish that everybody could eavesdrop on the conversations that we're having because they're full of gold. And so that's why I'm so glad you're here. So why don't you give people a short little bio on who you are and what you do and all that good stuff.
Well, I'll try to keep it short because, every time I try to list my curriculum vitae or my bio, it sounds like I'm bragging or I'm trying to compensate for something. I'll let you guys decide which is which. But just to start with, I just finished my doctorate in Chinese acupuncture and Oriental medicine with the Pacific College of Oriental Medicine. So that was a kind of a highlight. The last
Congratulations
three
on that.
years, yep, the last 3 years, I was voted one of the number among the top 3 NLP trainers in the world by globalgurus.org. I'm a certified trainer, master practitioner in neurolinguistic programming through the Society of Neurolinguistic Programming, which is headed by Dr. Richard Bandler and John Lavelle. Um, I've been practicing acupuncture and Oriental medicine since 2005. Hypnosis since I was 15. Let's see here. Probably one of the more earthy things that I've got going on is in 2005 I was voted one of the top 10 attraction and dating experts of the year by Art of Approaching and SeductionLayer.com, which is kind of a fun little aside. And I've authored over 15 different products on various forms of human influence, from energy healing to advanced conversational hypnosis and therapeutic applications. And all points in between. I also happen to have several high-ranking black belts in the martial arts, including a 10th degree in Ryukyu Kempo, a 4th degree in Shaolin Kung Tao. I gotta lead the laundry list now. Certified instructor in combat sistema, 2nd degree in Kosho Kempo, 1st degree in Fankuru Jiu-Jitsu, basic instructor in modern. Yeah, I'm gonna stop there.
You have a lot now. So the question becomes, when you have someone like this in front of you with all of that experience, all of that knowledge from, crazy, amazing success in martial arts, which takes, total commitment to be able to reach the levels of success that you have in that, to, being one of the top NLP trainers in the world, to being someone who is an expert in relationships and conversation and seduction and romance and things like that. where do you begin to jump into your mind and start doing laps? So so I'm going to start with this.
Okay.
Okay. So up until now, all the things that you've been doing, what is the one thing that you enjoy helping people with the most? Because you can help people with so many different things. So what's something that you really have a passion for?
I love setting people free.
Mm, yeah.
So many of the people that I meet and encounter are prisoners of their own mind.
Mm-hmm.
In one way or another, they're literally prisoners of their own mind. Either it's because, of an experience that they've encoded as a child or early on that has formed the foundation of their identity that they don't realize is just a recording of something that happened to them once. And they've been relating to that recording as if it's the actual thing that happened and making judgments about themselves ever since.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's the accumulation of lifelong messages from authority figures, whether it's war trauma or sexual abuse. And we have a clinic in Solana Beach where we've been seeing clients and treating clients who have chronic illness as a result of psychosomatic disorders. In other words, repressed emotion.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's on the pathology scale, but even people who are, entrepreneurs who kind of reach that ceiling where for some reason they can't seem to get more out of their team, or they can't seem to hit that next income bracket, or innovate or solve problems with managing their teams or whatever. They're all limiting beliefs, and they're all just a lack of information about how social dynamics and internal dynamics actually work. And so when I finally get to work with these people and I find out how they're creating the problem that they have, and maybe one or two things that just a little bit of tweak changes their perspective and opens the floodgates to amazing achievements or realizations about their life that just could take them to a completely different level. Most people, their challenges come down to one of two elements, usually both, but usually is more on one side than the other, and that's mindset or skill set. If people know exactly what steps to take in the order to take them, but they're not doing it, well, that's a
Mm-hmm.
mindset issue. There's something in there that's saying I can't go further or I shouldn't go further.
Yeah.
All right. If they're full of all this energy and enthusiasm and they're just kind of all over the map, well, that's a skill set issue. That may be just got to teach them a few basic skills or a few basic algorithms to channel that energy. Usually the truth is somewhere between both, but there's usually more one side than the other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know.
So listeners, does any of this sound familiar? I have my brother from another mother over here on this show. I'm telling you. So that's exactly right. I agree with all of that stuff. It's amazing how just literally finding the beliefs that are ruling people's lives and upgrading them. And then all of a sudden they go from I can't to I am, right? From not worthy to all of a sudden I feel like I am and I can do, and then they
Hmm.
do.
And then they do. And what's even cool, as cool as that is, and you know what that feels like. And I don't know if this is true for you, but what's even cooler for me is when I get reports back from how the people who learned the technologies from me went out and helped somebody else
Yeah.
and passed and paid it forward, and they're getting results. That's
Yeah.
leverage.
Yeah.
Right? We're all, in business, and we're all looking for leverage. We're all looking for a way to get, more return on our investment.
Yeah.
And so we're reaching people now that I never could have reached because
Mhm.
we kind of encounter tens and 20, hundreds of people a day. And if we have just one or two basic skills, we can make profound changes in the trajectory of people's lives.
That is so true. When you've trained hypnotists, you train hypnotists. I've done that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And just learning the basics,
Mm-hmm.
can have a huge impact. Just reading a relaxation script and watching people get relaxed and let go of all the tension could be
Mm-hmm.
hugely
Yeah.
beneficial. So, and then we go into all the ninja stuff that we've learned over the years, and then it takes it to a whole other level.
Ninja stuff is cool. Ninja
It
stuff
just
is cool.
it is cool.
But
So, but I love what you're saying because that is the point. I call it a level 2 change, right? So I always
mm-hmm.
try to get my clients, once they have the breakthrough, to go and help others to have that experience, those breakthroughs, and
Amen.
pass it along. And then it's like that shampoo commercial, and they told two friends, and they
And
told two
so
friends.
on and so on. Yeah.
And
Pay it
that's
forward.
that's how we create a grassroots movement
Mm-hmm.
of endless, ending needless suffering, and
Mm-hmm.
which is what we both love
Absolutely.
to do. Yeah.
Absolutely, that's actually one of my taglines when I talk to people, especially in the early days. Because people are always wondering, what's your agenda?
Right. Yeah.
Whenever you stand in front of an audience and you start espousing this or saying, "I can show you how to do this," they're like, "Okay, what's in it for you?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And the truth is that there's a huge amount in it for me. One is I get off on showing people what's possible.
Mm-hmm.
The other
Mm-hmm.
side of that is exactly what you said. Is how I early in my life, I was witness to a lot of suffering. Both
Hmm.
personally and watching the people who I cared about suffer. And I made a decision very early on that I was never going to be powerless again,
Mm.
and I was going to do everything I could to eliminate suffering wherever I could. And that's been a driving force in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually, people, you can tell why people get into certain professions, right? Because they're always trying, we become experts in the things that we know the most. So when I would
Absolutely.
talk about, self-sabotage, it's because I was an expert at it. Right.
Amen,
And
brother.
I
Poster
know.
child right here. I was probably right next to you on page 2.
Yeah. And so trying to figure out, how do we feel safe? How do we feel loved? How do we feel like we're enough?
Hmm.
And then take it to the next level. All right, now I feel like I'm enough. What do I do to get to the next level? And I think that you identified it, mindset and skill set. I
Hmm.
talk about beliefs and strategy. It's the
Right?
same
Same
thing. It's
thing.
just
Hmm.
our language, right? And so,
Yep.
so yeah, I love that. So we talk a lot about, I always say there's 3 phases to a breakthrough: resistance, confusion, and then breakthrough.
Hmm.
So you might have a different model, but so how do you get people past their own resistance?
I try to take them through, I just keep chunking down things on an experiential level until they're only a little bit intimidating. And then I just walk, I cajole them through it. And then they have this epiphany. And I tell them right up front, and this is probably one of it doesn't seem like such a big thing what I'm about to say, but for some reason when you say that to them, it makes them okay to just take a shot. And that is, it doesn't matter if you believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Just do
Yeah.
it and it'll
Yeah.
work. And that's kind of how we've developed our systems is belief is not necessary for the technology to work for you. You just
Yeah.
got to do it,
That's
you know.
huge. That's
Yeah.
huge right there, because that goes against what everybody thinks. Oh, well,
Hmm.
I have to believe it in order for it to
Mm,
work. No, you don't.
no, you don't. The principles by which the universe was created are as alive in a human being as they are in a planet. And
Mm,
so, if you understand that a lot of the things we're doing are simply based on natural law,
yeah.
and we actually show you the analogs to that because the human brain's really good at creating analogical connections to things, but they don't. But because we don't do that a lot, we tend to be very context specific in how we think about things. And in order for people to see that connection and make that connection, you have to break them out of that context. So I'll show them something as simple as a metronome video. Well, first of all, I'll show them a cymatics video where everything is affected by vibration,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Mm-hmm.
science. This is a physics 101 class, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I'll show them how everything, even the elements, is affected by vibration and how a simple tone can change the geometry of sand laying on a speaker.
Mm-hmm.
And that geometry is consistent with, and it changes. So that opens the space. It's a little bit of an experiential thing. Then I'll show them the metronome video, which is where, people's heartbeats are the largest rhythmic source that they have, but they can't make that leap yet to how that's important to persuasion and influence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I show them the 32 metronome video where within 2.5 minutes, 30 metronomes synchronize,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then I bring somebody up and I have them stand next to me. And as I'm talking to the audience, I get a neurological connection to their body and I start making them sway, just like the metronome. And they're like, and the person standing next to me half the time doesn't know what the hell's going on, right? And so
Right.
we bridge them from things they know to something they can experience because then we turn them loose on each other to start doing the exact thing they just saw me do.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and it's done through little tiny playful experiences that lock in a bigger principle, a deeper principle, and we just build on that. The NLP methodology of just chunking down and chunking down and chunking down. You don't got to believe it, you just got to do it,
Yeah.
and then that
And
experience flips their switch.
so that chunking down just means that we're taking a smaller step. We're taking a big goal and we're just breaking it down into smaller, tinier steps. And so
Yeah.
we're going to do step 1 that feels a little bit safe. Step 2, it's still safe, but we're pushing a little bit. So we have a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more, risk, where we show people that you can have your heart beating a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
you're still okay.
Yep.
So I had an athlete that was in a little while ago, and was tumbling and fell and hurt herself. And so as we were going through, and I'm having her imagine starting to do this move again, I
Mm-hmm.
saw her swallow. Right. And so
Right.
sometimes that's just, our body trying to relax back down. But when people have that heavy swallow, they make it feel like they sometimes think that, oh, this isn't working. And so
Mm-hmm.
what I said is, good. You want to swallow. You want your heart beating, your heart fluttering right now. And I
Yep.
took those things that she would think or a fear response. And I said, no, that's the energy response. Your body's taking it in.
Bingo.
Yeah. And so that's an example of taking a little thing and turning it and using
Yeah.
something that people are afraid of and using it to their advantage.
Yeah. So
That's
when,
good.
anytime you can take an actual experience and map it across to the studies, and then give
Yeah.
them I like to lead with the science if it's available. Even if it's not available, I don't use it. But I like to lead with something that's theoretical, and then move them to something that's teeny tiny that validates it. And
Yeah.
once and what an interesting thing happens is once the neurology has that experience, it's real for them now, and
Yeah.
now it creates more space for them to take the next step.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting, in hearing you talk about what you did with your client, which is very good, there's actually a great book out there now called How Emotions Are Made. I'm not sure you're familiar with it. And it presents an alternative theory on how our emotions work in our bodies. The prevailing theory is that we store emotions in our bodies. There's a competing theory now, which is the law of constructed emotions, that we construct emotions on the fly. And that the first thing that happens is we have a body feeling, and then we assign a label to it, as
Yeah.
opposed to we have an experience, we remember a time in our life when this happened, and then we have the feeling. It's actually inverse. So one of the fastest ways and you did this very well with what you're saying, with how you said it's excitement, right?
Yeah.
Is that one of the ways you can actually disconnect that interoceptive response from the label we assign to it is by having the client ask themselves, what else could this be?
Ooh, ooh, ooh. That's a power question. What
Yeah,
else could this be? Oh,
right.
I'm writing it
Write it
down.
down, brother. It's all right.
I love it. I love it. Ooh,
Yeah,
that's a good one. What else
yeah.
could this be? Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because
I
they're going to
love
have
it.
a body feeling no matter what, but the label they assign to it is, believe it or not, actually quite arbitrary.
Yeah, yeah. So that's awesome. I haven't heard it described that way before. Sounds like an amazing book, but it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Instead of having all this stored energy that's blocked and we have to unblock it and release it,
Yeah.
you know,
Because we automatically assume that if we're having this surcharge of energy building up in our system, then it must be bad.
hmm
And it
hmm
and it just means we're about to do something.
yeah, yeah,
That's what it means. We're about to do something. Something's about to happen. But the label we assign to it will spiral us off in a very different direction. We attach a fear label to that. We're gonna tap into all the memories we have of being afraid and all the things that went with it. We tap into an excitement label to that. We're gonna spiral into all the events in our life, and we were excited and we nailed the home run or the brass
yes,
ring or whatever.
right.
So you're not
It's the
gonna you're
same
not
adrenaline. It's the
yeah
same adrenaline. It's just,
yeah
what are you calling it? Excitement or fear?
you're
Same
not going to
adrenaline.
avoid the adrenaline rush from whatever's triggering that.
Uh-huh.
That's not something that you can ever really inoculate against. But what you
Uh-huh.
can do many times is reframe it right from the get-go
Yeah.
by once you become aware of the sensation and the meanings you're starting to assign to it, just stepping aside, saying, well, what else could this be?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Oh,
boom, you've got tons of different ways to reframe that feeling.
which is so powerful, because sometimes we think we just have one way. And in our mind, because of our ego, we think it's the way. We're
Hmm.
just being practical. We're just seeing it like, isn't it obvious? But no,
Hmm.
there's like 1,000 different ways that we could interpret what's going on right
Yeah,
now. And a
yeah.
lot of times people don't change because they just don't have the awareness or the words. They don't have the
Hmm.
language. They don't, if I'm training a leader, a lot of times the leader would be more persuasive or um, what's the word? Transformative
Hmm.
instead of transactional,
Right,
but they don't have the words. They don't have the actual, I don't know what to say, in a new way. And
right.
so by giving them new choices, all of a sudden you're like, you could say this or this or this, you pick. Because as
Yeah.
if it comes from them, they think it's their idea, they'll believe it
Absolutely. We don't.
more.
Human beings don't never. This is something you can take to the bank in every conceivable form of communication there is. Human beings never resist themselves.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
They never resist themselves. If they generate it, they'll accept it hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah,
And that's where the
yeah.
real mastery of influence and communication is about. Is you get people to come up with the conclusions or the metaphors, their own reasons for doing what you want them to do.
Yes. You and I have taken that to a whole other level, though, because the old approach in counseling was free association, where it might take you 10 years to come up with the idea.
Hmm.
So we want it to be 10 minutes. So we'll float
Absolutely.
different ideas and then get you to think it's yours.
Hmm. Well,
So,
that's the beauty of NLP and its derivatives is that it does allow you to guide and navigate the direction of somebody's thought without making them trying to force fit them into your exact narrative or your exact interpretation of an
yes.
experience or behavior. You know.
Very good. That's very, very good. So anybody that's a practitioner that just heard what David said, I want to make sure that you catch what he said because it was very powerful. So you're giving the ideas, but you're not giving them your version of the situation. You're giving them ideas so that they can shape their own more empowered version. But it has to
Yes.
be their words, their experience,
Yeah.
not just trying to put your experience onto them because that won't work.
Perfect.
So yeah, it's really good. So good. So then you have this great program that you work on and then you help and you teach a lot of people that are leaders and in leadership positions or working with high performing teams. And you call it the CPI, the
CPI
conversation,
model, yeah.
persuasion. Yeah. Conversation, persuasion, and influence.
Conversational
So
persuasion and influence. You got it.
yeah. So conversational persuasion. Okay. Got it. So then, so for people that are listening right now, what are a couple of things that you can do through conversations that would increase your persuasion or ability to influence others?
Okay. Well, I'll give you a couple of things, and I'll lead each piece off with a question.
Okay.
How powerful would you become, or how powerful would your life be if you could literally force a person to pay attention to every single word you say and have them hanging on every word, and and actually cause them to talk more and more and more to you, giving you all the information that you could ever want, and the longer they talk, the more connected to you they become.
That's good. I
Okay.
like how you speak like a copywriter.
I've done a lot of work. You know, some of the best hypnotists in print on the planet are direct response copywriters,
That's exactly what I was thinking. That's
right?
exactly right.
And
Yeah.
here's the answer to that little tease. This is what I call the back door to the human nervous system. It's like the bump key.
Yeah.
The most powerful words any human being can hear at any given moment, hold on for this, are the ones that just came out of their mouth. Okay, I can explain everything you want to, you know, everything about that from a neurolinguistic perspective, but our eyes would cross because I'd have to lapse into jargon. But here's the thing you need to understand: human beings, everything a human being does is based on emotional drives within us, primal drives and then emotional drives,
Yeah.
and every experience that we have and every thought that we think has a structure. And so when human beings go from external experience to internal experience. In other words, they take a video recording of something that just happened to them and they play it inside their heads. Well, that recording is being impacted by an uncalculable number of filters. NLP likes to say we delete, we distort, we generalize. And then what we get at the end of that long, drawn-out process is a very massaged map of the way the world is supposed to be, not the way the world is.
Right.
And when we communicate that map to other people, we use it through our spoken words. And so to get all that information even more condensed, we use words. Now, by definition, what comes out of our mouth is the equivalent of a zip file. If and what I mean by that is, I'm getting a little bit more into explanation than I want to, because the way that you do it is you simply use a person's words as often as possible. But I want you to understand a little bit about why this works, both on from the NLP side, but also from the neurology side.
Let me just rephrase or repeat that then real quick, because that was the gold. And now you're going to help people understand why that was so powerful. But when you want to create greater influence with someone, you just listen to the words that they use or the phrases they use, and you feed those exact words and phrases back to them through the conversation. Speak using their words.
That's the application right there. And I dare you to try and get caught.
I know, it's funny because you're like, oh my God, people are going to think I'm making fun of them.
I'm going to warn you right now, and I'll try and circle back to the more of the explanation side. But let me tell you what's going to happen, and you don't have to believe me to do this. Just go out and start doing it with a sincere desire to connect and understand people. If you come from that place, there's absolutely nothing unethical behind what you're doing.
Yes.
But here's the thing you need to understand.
And it'll feel more natural if you're doing it really to understand somebody else and not to try to trick them or get something over on them, because that'll show up in your physiology. It won't be the words that you're feeding back. It'll be your weirded energy because you're thinking, am I going to get busted?
Yeah.
So
there's this thing that happens whenever we take a technique that is not native to our system and we try and apply it in the field. And it's called the spotlight effect. And basically it's this idea that people are going to know I'm doing something. They're going to see it. It's going to be like a big spotlight. And that spotlight effect only actually is inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
When you start communicating with, and it happens with everything that's new to
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
When you start communicating with people using their very own words, you're sending a message to their nervous system from the most superficial level of their awareness to the deepest level of their emotional being. That you heard them, that you understand them, that you're just like them, and you're validating everything that they've said all at the same time. And there's a whole lot
Yeah.
more that's going on there for you NLP buffs. I can wax on that a little bit. But the bottom
Mm-hmm.
line is, the moment they feel those words, or hear those words coming back to them, it triggers sameness, it triggers connection, and additional self-disclosure. They'll start running off at the mouth because they want to make sure you get it all. And the longer, here's the magic: the longer they talk, the more connected to you they become.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're
Yeah.
one of those people who hates small talk, this is like the holy grail.
Yeah.
Right?
It
Right? And
really
this is where
is.
we start in the CPI system, is understanding this basic need for connection and validation. That's not just psychological, it's physiological. It's vibrational. It's based on the molecules in your body. You know?
Yeah, if you lean into somebody and they say something and then you say something or basically ask them a question using the words that they use and you're connecting, you're just making eye contact, you're leaning in and you give
Mm-hmm.
them your full attention, they might talk for the next 30 minutes straight. You won't say another word and they'll be convinced it was the best conversation they ever had.
That's without a doubt. They will think you, and literally, they will think you are the most fascinating conversationalist they've ever had. They will
Yeah.
remember you for the rest of their life,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
maybe 30% of the words you use will be original.
Yeah.
And that's the point, is once a person gets back their very own words, they can't not pay attention.
That's really true. It really is. Yeah. So people, I just keep thinking about the resistance that comes up when people will be like, yeah, but aren't I not being authentic? I'm like, actually, you're being more authentic because you're
Yes.
really in the moment helping someone else feel a connection with you. I mean, how authentic is that?
Yeah, we get it's 100. You're 100% right. Here's the thing, and this is something that, because this question comes up a lot in the trainings, and I look at them and I say, listen, let me explain something about based on what I've just told you. The echo technique is the most desirable, compelling, native way for human beings to want to be communicated with.
Mm,
Okay? Ethical considerations, in other words, you can use this for good or you can use this for bad. We
mm.
train the good Jedi, right? But the bottom line is that this is, from a neurological perspective, from a psychological filters perspective, this is the most desirable way for human beings to communicate. This is how people want to be communicated with. This is what they're moving through the world looking for at their deepest levels. That validation that we all need, that we're heard, that we make a difference, that we're understood and accepted. That's what echo technique does.
Yeah.
Now, if you know that's true, and you refuse to do that, who's the asshole now? If
That's
you know
good.
that the echo technique, or variations of it, is the most satisfying and fulfilling method to communicate with human beings, that gives them the exact feelings they want to have, that lets them know you've heard them, that gives them everything they're looking for in a communication with you, and you choose not to do it, who's the jerk,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
That's brilliant.
And I
That's
encourage my
brilliant.
students to adopt echo technique as a way of life.
Yeah.
Just make it part of how you relate to people, and it will be what you do, and you'll see the responses. You'll see their eyes light up. You'll see them orient on you. You'll start getting free desserts like it's nobody's business, right?
Yeah, truly.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you do nothing else, you don't have to learn all these big,
yeah,
elaborate, slick techniques,
yeah.
because sometimes the more, I used to meet people all the time where they were so, excited about trying their next sleight of mouth technique,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and all these other things. And
That's
I'm
a
like,
that's a can of fish you don't want to open up.
no, I'm like, why don't you just actually be present with them and care
and,
about them?
and
It'll
and
be a
that's the
million times better.
and that's the beautiful part, is echo technique, if you practice it long term, will
Mhm.
enhance your memory.
Yeah.
It'll
Yeah.
enhance your memory. You'll be able to remember these long strings of dialogue, and you will actually know these people better than the people who've been closest to them for 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
And the people you communicate with will feel that.
Yeah, because you've had a more authentic conversation and pulled things out of them, and then knew what to reinforce
Mm-hmm.
that most people just aren't doing.
Yeah.
Most people, you ask them a question and they give you an answer, and then you may be asked something completely random, or you just keep talking.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that go down the rabbit hole. You ask them a
Yeah.
question about that, and then ask them one that takes it a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper, and then direct them in that way, and
Mm-hmm.
and help them to connect with feelings that you want them to have, emotions. What if, here's another question, what if you could cause people to feel any emotion that you or they wanted to feel within just a
Absolutely.
few moments?
Yeah,
What kind
we
of
do
power
that
would that have?
because that's what's coming next.
That's exactly right.
Right? Because
And
every
that's
human being, and you know this, Tim, every human being human beings do not make decisions based on facts.
right.
They make
Hmm.
decisions based on feelings. And
Yeah.
to go one step deeper, it's almost always a body feeling.
Yeah.
The moment you give a person a body feeling, and this is
Mm.
one of the axioms that we use, everything human beings do, positive or negative, is in response to a feeling. It's
Yeah.
either a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of.
Yeah. So when you say body feeling, let's go a little deeper on that. So what's the difference between a body feeling and a regular feeling?
Well, first of all, we talk about emotions and we talk about body sensations. All emotions are feelings, but not all feelings are emotions. So I make distinctions,
Mm.
and what we're really talking about on a neurological level is this big long word called interoception.
Okay.
You have a nervous system that monitors your spatial relationships outside of you. You have a division of your nervous system that monitors movement and spatial relationships inside of you.
Mm.
That division of your nervous system is called your interoceptive nervous system. If you're doing any of Richard Bandler's work, he'll talk about the enteric nervous system. But then what it is doing is it's monitoring all the movement inside your body. And that's the part that generates the body feelings that causes the initial domino effect that leads to an emotional response.
Hmm.
So if you can affect the body with any feeling, all of a person's perceptual filters, including their emotional ones, change spontaneously. And that's why remember I was talking about that whole metronome effect, making them sway and stuff like that?
Yeah.
That's based on the research by heartmath.org,
Uh-huh.
where they talk about coherence and they talk about
Yes.
heartbeats synchronizing. Well, when
Yeah.
the heartbeat the human body has an electromagnetic field that's measurable with instruments 8 feet in diameter
Hmm.
from your body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your proprioceptive nervous system, one of the 6 channels of information that it monitors is electromagnetic fields.
Mm.
So when you have an oscillating, a rhythmic, pulsing vibrational force within 8 feet of you, your neurology senses that. And when two things start to get together, they start to entrain. And so what's happening is this is why many times when we're deep in trance and rapport with somebody and something comes out of our mouth, we have no clue where it came from, but it was exactly what that client needed to hear. That's
Yeah.
the mechanism at play. That's that unconscious or preconscious communication that's flowing back and forth through that rapport feeling that we have.
Yeah.
We're building on that idea, and instead of taking it like just getting frequency, we want to tap into somebody's body and get an amplitude, and we do that through body feelings. And we actually practice generating a body feeling and having the other person's mirror neurons pick it up.
Mm.
And these are drills that we do in our training, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's impossible to catch. It changes everything about the person. It gives you mega control over your own personal states at any given moment, and then
Yeah.
you build on that foundation. I kind of went off on a tangent there, but the whole body feeling is every emotion thing. Yeah, next time you're doing therapy on something, and I don't care if it's in a sales training or whatever. Next time they have a feeling that bothers them or an emotion that bothers them, say, point to where you feel it in your body. 100% of the time, they will point somewhere on their body.
Mm-hmm.
There's a body feeling right there. That body feeling is the node where all of the holographic information that we would access with NLP or hypnotherapy or energy psychology is reconstructed. Remember we talked about emotions are reconstructed,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
When we talked about how back in the day when a lot of these people were having false memories, it's because
Yeah.
when we recall a memory, we don't remember it. We rebuild it. And it's based on the emotions that we have that causes us how that affects how we reconstruct that memory.
I want to say that again because it's so brilliant. We don't remember it. We rebuild it
Yeah.
in our mind. And often the way that we rebuild it isn't exactly how it happened.
Yeah.
It's an
big
interpretation
deal.
of how it happened.
That's
a
a really
very big deal.
Because most people think that they have this experience and then they
Mhm.
encode it and they relate to that recording as if that's what happened.
Yes.
But the
But it's
science
not
is showing
exactly
us
what happened.
it's not. The
Uh-uh.
thing that you keep revisiting happened to you once,
Yeah.
and the recording that you made of it isn't even accurate. And every time you reconstruct it, it's different. So the
Yeah.
shit you're carrying around isn't even true.
Yeah. Yeah. But we fight for it,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so what happens is we protect our pain instead of getting it out.
Yeah,
I remember
labor.
people, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say that the idea that um, I remember going through training and working with people and telling them that we're going to go and we're going to shift things from your past. And they're like, well, what if it's not accurate? What if it didn't happen that way? I'm like, it doesn't matter. Because
Yeah.
if it shifts inside of your mind in a new way, then that's all that's going to matter, because that's going to change your body feeling and your belief.
Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't matter if it's accurate or not, if you made it up or not. If we go back and that's what comes up, we're going to use it.
Yeah.
And
Human
get the
beings
outcome.
labor under two big fallacies, and they only come out when you give them the possibility of changing the past, that these things tend to come up. First of it is that our memories are real, that they are in fact the thing that happened to us.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one of the big fallacies that we operate under. The
Yeah, if
second
that was
one,
the case, you have a brother or a sister who went through the same thing that happened at that birthday party when you were 10. Both were there. Both have a completely different story about what happened. That's not what happened. That's not how it went
yeah,
down. Well, how's that possible then? Because we
exactly.
interpret it differently,
Perfect.
put it through different filters.
Yeah, and the other side of that is that we believe that our memories are us.
Ooh, David.
We believe our memories are
I'm
us.
having a body feeling right now.
That's like
It's
saying
really good.
that's like saying your DVD collection at home is the sum total of your life experience,
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant.
right? But that's how
Yeah.
we operate.
Yeah.
It's if we bring these things out in the open, we consciously know they're not true when we think about them, but at the same time, we behave as if they are, because no one's taught us to do anything different. And then once you have that, you have to kind of say, well, you have permission to change that shit. And that's a mind blower right there. Is they don't think they have permission to change it, because they're afraid. Well, if I change this memory, who will I be? Probably more of who you want to be.
That's really good too. Probably more of who you want to be. People always say, I don't know who I am. And I'm like, who cares? Who do you want to be?
Exactly.
Let's be that. Let's grow into that.
Yeah, you are
I
not
love
the
that.
way you are because of the shit that happened to you. You're the
Yeah.
way you are because of the way you've encoded the shit that happened to you and the way you're relating to that encoding.
And that can be adjusted.
Absolutely.
So Wayne Dyer always talked about, if you get bit by a snake, yeah, it hurts, but that's not what kills you. It's the venom that's left inside. Our goal is to get the venom out.
Absolutely.
And the venom is just an idea that we can shift the meaning of it. And you shift the meaning, it changes everything.
Yeah.
And it changes everything.
Yeah.
Right? Even physical illness. I'm
Big
sure
time.
you've seen it. I have
I
too.
see it almost weekly in the clinic.
Oh, yeah.
I get people with everything from terminal cancer to Parkinson's to multiple sclerosis to 47-year-long cases of scoliosis, and every single thing that comes in has a psycho-emotional component. And if you deal with that psycho-emotional component, the somatics drop to almost nothing. The body just goes, "Oh, I'm done. I don't need this metaphor anymore."
It's a trip, isn't it? I got to show you this. You'll love this.
Okay.
So I had a woman come in. We just did a testimonial on it, so it's okay to share. But her name's Jerry, and she came in, and 26 years old. She's had this chronic cough condition, environmental stimulation. She
Right.
smells someone's cologne. She starts coughing. Sometimes it doesn't stop for 2 months.
My
Just
God, poor woman.
for
Yeah.
2 months. It was horrible. She had to live with her parents. She couldn't go anywhere. She couldn't do holiday stuff because she'd have a reaction. She came in here. We did one session. I did the old allergy technique where you put it behind the glass,
Yep.
little dissociation technique, so it can't get her anymore.
Right on.
We coughed through our whole session. I'm like, oh man. She came back the next week, completely gone. She came in 2 days ago. It's been 2 months now. And it hasn't come back
Congratulations. Well done.
since. How is that? Well, I was really proud of her. And so
Yeah.
she brought this. So this is why I tell you the story, because she brought this in. She made this. It's a little plastic box with ribbon in it. And she said, this is the cough. She said, I put it behind the glass and now it's
perfect.
stuck in there and I can't, and it can't get out anymore.
And then she
And
gave
I
it to
said-
you, so it's never coming back.
That's right. That's exactly right. I said, if there's anything else, you come over here, you put it in the box, I'll take care of it for you.
That's awesome. That's
Isn't
awesome.
that amazing?
Yes.
And so when people are like, yeah, but no, you don't understand. Well, that's the belief that you're running right now. And, it's one of the reasons why people don't have breakthroughs in their health or their money or their relationships or whatever else, because they've got that hardcore belief that it's not possible. And, but you and I know better.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why right, almost from day one, we get the belief system out of the way. We say, you don't need to believe this. It's a mechanical process. Just do it. It'll work.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I always
as long
tell
as they
them the more nervous you are, the better it's going to work.
Yeah.
And they're always like, really?
He said, "Don't
Yeah.
believe me. Let's just do it."
Let's, yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
really where you start. You start with something that's impossible for them to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And you get the
Yeah.
thing that could mitigate their success by saying it doesn't matter. You don't have
Yeah.
to believe it. You
Yeah.
just got to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. There's no failure. It's just feedback.
Mm-hmm.
We're just going to get the feedback and we're going to keep using it. So no matter what happens, we got this.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of times they're just borrowing our confidence in the beginning,
They are.
which is hilarious that someone's borrowing our confidence, because that's not how we started. Right.
But we did start with something that most people don't have, is this ability that we have to control our state. That
Mm,
we have to be, even if we're having a little bit of nerves or a little bit anxious about the process, we're more in control of our state than they are.
yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and
We've
it's,
learned how to do it.
yeah. The infamous Ross Jeffries said this, and unfortunately, and as much as I hate to quote the man sometimes, he did say it quite well.
Yeah.
You will never install certainty in other people by being uncertain yourself.
Mm, say that again.
You will
That's
never
really
install
important.
certainty in other people by being uncertain yourself.
That's right.
And
All
that's
you'll
why,
install them is more uncertainty.
yeah, because their mirror neurons are going to pick up every feeling you're having. So, but if you're more certain than uncertain, that comes across. And that degree of certainty will translate into a higher level of responsiveness from your client.
So true. So true. So I want to tie two things
Oh,
together that you said, because I love it.
mhm,
As I was listening to you a few minutes ago, you were taking me back to when I was going through the NLP Train the Trainer, and
mhm,
and how I was being taught that you want to try to connect with how your client is feeling, try to really
mhm.
get so in tune with them that you can
Yep.
feel what they're feeling, and then find a way out with the tools that you have that they don't,
Mhm.
and then they'll come right out with you.
Yes.
And so, and how some people were so scared of that because they didn't want to connect with it, or they were just stirring their own drama up. And I was like, this is fascinating.
Mhm.
You can change sometimes without even having to say anything to them. You just feel what they're feeling and then work your way out, and then they come right out with you.
Yeah.
And
I've
so,
I've seen that clinically all the
yeah,
time.
so when you are doing that, so if you want someone to feel more calm or more confident, then what you do is start where they're at and then take them
Exactly.
there with your certainty,
You got it.
and
And
they'll come right along.
here's the fly in the ointment. And this is why, if you look at the how we've structured the CPI system, we call it the Universal Persuasion Protocol. There's 6 steps, and when you get really good, you can skip 3 of them and still get your outcome. All right. So it starts with learning to control your state, getting rapport, using your language, using those 3 steps to manage the process of the manage the state of the subject or the target,
Mm-hmm.
jumping into their process and emotionally bonding them with their criterion values.
Mm-hmm.
That's the 6-stage universal persuasion protocol. And state control must come first. And it goes
Yeah.
directly to what you were saying about what your experience at Trainers Training, where getting in touch with people's feelings. Human
Yeah.
beings inherently resist going into negative states as an act of will with other people, mostly
Sure.
because they have these fears that A, they're not going to be able to get out of it,
Mm-hmm.
and their neurology equates those negative feelings with death.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that we do very early in day 1 of CPI training is we have this whole day devoted to nothing but physiological and cognitive state control, to give
Mm-hmm.
people the ability to go as far into a negative state as humanly possible and then bring themselves back using their physiology and bringing themselves back using their cognition. Because out in the street, you're going to, who's Maria Knight? Anyway, out in the street, you're going to do both. But in CPI training, we actually turn them, each one into a separate module. Are you with me, Tim?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
here.
Okay.
Did Maria jump on?
Maria jumped on. So,
She's joining us from Australia. I'm not sure
oh,
why she's here, but if you are here, hi, Maria.
well, she logged in. I don't know if she's actually at the computer. She might have everything off. Anyway,
Okay.
but so the thing is, and this goes back to what you were, I'll give you I'll try to make this story quick. Back when in 2003, 2002, 2003, I was finishing up my master's degree in acupuncture and oriental medicine.
Yeah.
And when you're going to be an acupuncturist, you got to have like 1,500 clinical hours or that.
Wow.
And I pioneered a lot of my conversational hypnosis stuff while I was in the clinic because as an intern, you're pretty much bulletproof. They
Mm-hmm.
expect you to screw up. So I figured, well, if I'm going to get in trouble, at least I won't get sued or whatever. And so I would come in and I would do conversational hypnosis and kind of elicitations while I'm doing their intake. And then what I would do is, if you've ever been to an acupuncture session, they lay you out on the table and then they go and they needle the points and they put you under the heat lamp and they let you take a nap for 20, 30, 40 minutes, depending on what system of acupuncture that you're using.
Yes.
And so many times what I would do is I would actually, as I was needling the points, I would explain to the patient who's already in an altered state, because that's what
Mm-hmm.
happens when you needle an acupuncture point. They dip into an alpha state anyway, and they're already
Mm-hmm.
on the freight train to trance. And I would literally explain to them using hypnotic language the functions of each point. So as I'm needling them, I'm telling them their unconscious mind what's going to happen as I needle the point. So I'm layering that placebo effect on top of the regular acupuncture effect. So they get up
Brilliant.
feeling amazing.
Yeah.
But that's actually not where I was going with this. I had one particular client. I was walking in a clinic one day, and it was my shift was just starting. I was coming in the afternoon. My classmates were finishing the morning shift. A lady walks out of the treatment room carrying a clipboard, and she looks at me, and you know that look when somebody just handed you a shit sandwich because they didn't want it. You know that look, and she beats. It's all yours. Boom, gone. Right, in a little dust cloud where she was standing. So I'm like, oh shit, what am I getting myself into? So I walk into the clinic. I walk into the treatment room, and there's this young man there. I guess he's late 20s, early 30s, but he walks in, and his posture is just,
Yeah.
just the energy in the room was so heavy. You would need a
Yeah.
bulldozer to cut through. I mean, it was that much depression, that much grief and sadness. And as I'm going
Yes.
through this intake, I find out that his part he was a homosexual man. Not that that's any deal, but he had just lost his partner from
Mm-hmm.
AIDS, and he had just been diagnosed with HIV.
Oh my gosh. Poor
So
guy.
I'm looking at this guy, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to need bazookas and dynamite to break this state. And
Mm-hmm.
some states are so heavy you can't break them except by hitting them upside the head with a chair,
Mm-hmm.
metaphorically speaking. So I did the only thing I knew how to do. I knew I had good state control. I knew I could get myself out of any negative state that I was in, and I needed to reach this guy. So I hit the posture, and I went there. I went as far down with him as I could go. And when people's neurology synchronize, there's a sensation that you get. It's like everybody's is a little bit. Some people feel it as a warmth. Some people feel it as a click. Sometimes there's just this settling kind of a feeling that comes up. And I just waited for it. And when I felt it, I started talking to him, and I started using his words a little bit. And I started thinking, and I would slowly change my physiology, just tiny micro movements, so that he could follow me easily. And he did. He started, after maybe 20 minutes or so, he started to become more upright. I wouldn't say he was happy,
Mm-hmm.
but he was much more open. He was much more relaxed. And I was able to do the treatment, and he came out of there actually somewhat smiling. Now, because of the transient nature of the clinic, I never got to see him again. But for that day, we made a significant difference in him. And I think personally that the vast majority of it happened before the needles went in. I think
Oh yeah.
being able to go there. And that's one of the problems that we have, is that most people, in the face of that intensity of an emotional experience, that degree of negativity, they'd recoil. They would try to use their words. They would try to rationalize with them. They'd try to pattern it, and it's not enough. And so
Yeah.
we as influence professionals, we must learn. And that's why I recommend all students of influence take acting classes,
Mm.
because an actor's entire craft is what we do as
Yeah.
influencers. Our job as hypnotists or neurolinguistic programmer, even leaders, is
Mm-hmm.
to take people out of their world and suck them into our vision, suck them into
Yeah.
the world we create. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what an actor's craft is all about.
Mm-hmm.
So you can only benefit as a leader, as an orator, as a therapist, by getting those skill sets or drills that allow you to do that. But going back to what you were saying about feelings, it's the willingness to go in that or not is what limits us in our ability to get that level of connection and rapport with people. So we as trainers, we as practitioners must find or engineer ways to practice that before the barn's on fire. So I say, don't wait till the barn's on fire to start digging the well. And so that's
That
the
is,
same idea. We need
that's
drills, and
awesome.
that's why state control always has to come first. Because if you
Yeah.
don't have state control, but you have rapport training, you will be at the mercy of the rapport you create.
Mm-hmm.
And if
Mm-hmm.
anybody's ever gotten rapport with somebody who's on their period, has the flu, is in a bad mood, will tell you their energy level doesn't go up. Well, theirs might, but yours certainly doesn't. And
No,
so,
no, ours go down too. I've had that too.
yeah,
And you're like, oh my gosh, I need like an energy shower.
yep,
I was way too down in that energy.
hmm
That's really, so what you're really describing is high level change work, right? You can, on the on the front end, you can do influence just by using people's words and
Hmm.
using their body language. What you're talking about is what the best change workers in the planet do, where you literally are connecting with their physiology.
Absolutely.
You're totally getting down to where they are and then taking them where you want them to go, where most people are just trying to grab a hold of them and take them. They're not actually going down to where they are
You
first.
got
They're
to
not
grab them by
connecting
the
with them.
feelings. You got to grab them by the body feelings. And
Yeah.
the fastest way to do that, the fastest way
Yeah.
to change anybody's body feelings is to change yours. But in order
Yeah.
for you to do that, you've got to connect with them first and then
Mm-hmm.
change from within.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you need a whole
Yeah.
lot more amplitude and they're going to resist you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. David, this has been so fun. Oh my gosh. And the whole video, I'm look like I'm just a little schoolgirl. I'm just
No,
looking and laughing and,
you've got some great
happy.
stuff, man. It's nice to see the analogs to what I do, and the words that people put to them, and if you
Yeah.
look below the surface beyond the jargon, whether it's my
Yeah.
jargon or yours, the mechanics are the same. And
Yeah.
that's what really,
Like,
if when you move through the world, looking through the eyes of a neurolinguistic programmer, you start to see the world in terms of process and structure.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you can do that, then the universe literally does reveal its secrets. People become very, very understandable. And
Yes.
that's where we can make powerful changes in ourselves and in everyone around us.
Yeah, that well said. Well said. I get so excited because what we were talking before we hit the record button about how we don't spend a lot of time hanging out with other hypnotists or
Hmm.
NLP people because we're out there trying to make a big difference for the people that don't know this stuff, right?
Absolutely.
And showing people how powerful they really are.
Yeah.
And so for to hang out with you and reminisce and go through these all things, and I mean, it's just so exciting, right? And
Hmm.
it's been really wonderful. So let me ask you two questions. I
Sure.
know I'm going to have you back on the show again so that we can, so I have more questions for you.
Anytime, bro. Anytime.
Yeah. So if you could go back and tell little David, go back to when you were like 7 or 10 and give him a bit of advice based on all the things that you've learned, what advice would you give him?
I think the biggest piece of advice that I would give them is you're good enough. You're always good enough. No matter where you
Yeah.
go, no matter what you do, good things are going to happen, and sometimes not so good things are going to happen. People are going to come into your life, people are going to go out. But no matter where you go, no matter what you do, no matter what life hands you, the one person who will always be there for you is you. You
So
know,
good.
to
Yeah.
remind you that you're always good enough, you're always accepted, protected, forgiven for all wrongs, real or imagined, and you're never ever alone.
Yeah.
Because after looking into the hearts and minds, Tim, of literally thousands of people,
Mm-hmm.
when you peel back all the stories, all the histories, and you look into the hearts of what's there, all you see in the same, every man, woman, and child is the same thing. A scared little child,
Mm-hmm.
desperate to be loved and terrified of being alone.
Yeah.
And when you
Yeah.
give them that, when you give them somebody who can always be there and give them that love and that unconditional acceptance, they have the strength to go through anything. Anything. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know.
That's
So to
exactly
me,
right.
having said this to hundreds and thousands of people and seeing what happens, that's exactly what I'd be doing, what I would say to them.
Yeah.
In fact, I just
Yeah.
did.
You just did. You just did. Oh my God. That was so awesome.
Uh-huh.
That's fantastic. All right, David. So if people want to learn more about conversational persuasion and influence, if people are looking for hypnosis training, neurolinguistic programming training, just to really learn from you,
Hmm.
best place to go. I know you can definitely go to www.nlppower.com.
Hmm.
That's www.nlppower.com. We're going to make sure and have all this in the notes. You can check out David's YouTube channel, youtube.com/David Snyder NLP. Okay, it stands for
Hmm.
Neuro-Linguistic Programming, if you don't know what that is. And is there anything else that you want to share or let people know about? I'm going to be
Well,
definitely telling them about all your stuff.
just a quick aside, for those of you who thank you for sharing our YouTube channel and our website, Tim. And here's what I recommend you guys do. Go to the YouTube channel. We have over almost 300 videos, and they're not short videos. They're all an average of 60 to 90 minutes.
They are
Binge
high
watch,
content.
yeah,
High
binge watch
content.
them to your heart's content. When you decide that you're ready to take the next level, come over to NLPPower.com. We have a massive, a really fleshed out events calendar for 2020. We're starting on 2021 now, so there's all kinds of really cool classes. We have a very, very comprehensive online store with videos of our trainings that you can take at and whatever level of intimacy you want to work with me. And if you have any questions at all, you just give us a call at 858-282-4663. That's 858-282-4663. You'll reach my administrative goddess, Stephanie, and she can point you in the direction of where you need to go. And we always tell our students, and we consider you guys and your reader students as well by proxy, before you buy anything, give us a call. Tell us what your goals are, and we will give you the shortest distance between where you are and where you want to be based on the content and the courses that we create. And we'll make recommendations. If we can help you, we'll tell you. If we can't, we'll tell you that too. And we'll point you in the direction of people whose resources we might think would be a better fit for you. But binge watch the videos to your heart's content. You can also reach out to Stephanie at NLPPower.com. That's all I'm going to do in terms of plugging what we've got. And I look forward to meeting and talking to everyone who has the pleasure of being one of Tim's amazing subscribers and podcast listeners.
Yay. Thank you, David.
My pleasure.
David Snyder, everybody. What a mesmerizing guy. And thank you so much for watching this video, for listening to this podcast, for hanging out with David and I. We do this because of you. And so I'm so glad that you're here. If you have any questions, let us know. Check out David's stuff. And then share this with everybody that you know, because this is a pretty powerful conversation, and everybody is wanting to know how to use the power of their mind to create their life by design. And this is, this is the way. So anyway, thanks so much for being here, and stay mesmerizing and make today a sure success. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody. All right. Wonderful. Yay.
Thank you, sir.
Very good.
Well done.
That was brilliant.
That
was brilliant. So thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure.
And so I really appreciate you. It was just awesome. I wrote down all kinds of great stuff, and love to have you back again. It was so good.
Yeah.
Love to be able to, let me see here. Oh, I've got a message too from Maria, who happens to be on here. David, special advice that we are enough is pure gold. Thank you. So, thank you, Maria. I appreciate
Thank you, Maria.
that.
Awesome.
That's awesome. So, so I'm definitely going to have you back again, and
Cool.
let's stay in touch in some way. I really had a good time. Maybe down the road, we'll be able to share a stage or do something fun
That sounds
together.
like fun. That sounds like fun. Yeah.
That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, just reach out to Stephanie if you want to schedule something. She controls my life right now, so.
I have a Stacy that does that.
All right, right on.
So, all right, man, you have a great day. Thanks again. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, great.
All right.
Have a great night. Bye.
Okay, bye. Bye, Maria.